Go somewhere else. I can't take this nonsense anymore. How are you going to blame the defense?
I got the pouch. Screw green bean. Damn it.
But once you get to the sausage, I feel like we're doing something.
Go Jets.
And that's the other part of it, is the people are insanely jealous of this show. This show gets the best of the best, and it does a different way, with positivity.
He scores!
Ow, my head. No, come on.
What would you give up to see a Jets Super Bowl?
All of my friends and boys and girls.
Freeze frame.
Hold on to your underwear, ladies, and stand by, bitches. It's now time for Talkin' Jets with your hosts, Matt, Ryan, and Green Bean.
Welcome to Talkin' Jets. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot tonight. I'm joined alongside my lovely co-pilot, Mr. Dom C. Dom. We just had our Super Bowl, aka the draft. How you feeling?
Oh man, I can't complain, dude. I'm happy. I'm rested. I got a lot going on, dude. So it's all new. This whole like draft cycle being done is feels like I'm a fresh baby coming out of the womb, learning how to walk again. And walking is like life. Introducing myself to my kids and my family and stuff. You know, it's all good.
Yeah, 3 days of like not seeing the wife and kids has been crazy. It's nuts. It's like I think we did like 17
3 days,
hours
try
of
like
streaming.
6 months.
Oh yeah, dude. I don't know how you did it. I'm spent. Been a while. Boys and girls in the chat, you can hit that like button for us. For all you guys hopping in. I see some of the Blitzkrieg goes pick. I uploaded a video today, and I guess like 3/4 of the way through it, it like started stuttering, which on my end didn't do that. But then when I played it back, it like caught me after I said, we're not going to get a comp pick, or we're going to get a comp pick. Oh, it's so dumb.
Unreal.
All right, let's just get right into it. What were your thoughts before we get into like the Jet side of things, storylines from the draft? Michael Penix goes number 8. What were you thinking when that happened?
Oh man, I don't know what I was thinking. Listen, I'll say this: Penix wasn't my favorite. You know, I did not have a first-round grade on him, but I expected him to go in the first round just because quarterbacks are always overdrafted. That's fine. Even if you told me he went in the top 10, I'd shake my head like this, but it wouldn't completely surprise me. Now you throw in the fact that Atlanta picked him after just signing Kirk Cousins to a $180 million contract, something like that, you know, thinking that maybe they were a piece or two away from really competing in a light division. To me, it just didn't make sense. So, listen, triple whammy. I wouldn't have taken him in the first round. Thought it was going to happen. I wouldn't have taken him in the top 10. Kind of surprised that it happened. Drafted by Atlanta, I was freaking floored. So,
I'll be honest, it was like the one thing that I was hoping wouldn't happen. I wanted Atlanta to take a defensive player, because then at least I felt like we could have traded in front of the Bears, because sliding back one pick shouldn't be too painful for him. But obviously Penix, you know, if they didn't take him at 8, there's the potential of the Raiders possibly trading up to 9 and snagging him in front of the Jets pick if we were to have traded up in front of them. So,
well, it's real interesting about that too. I mean, obviously, I don't think it's, you know, it's been it's come out that Rome Odunze was the Jets' target. Okay, they tried to get up to 6 to get him. They didn't, and included, from what I understand, not only some picks in this draft, but some picks in next year's draft that the Giants didn't want to budge off, which was fine. And then they had a lot of talks with Atlanta, but Atlanta was very concerned that not only the Raiders, but supposedly the Saints and Seattle were knocking at doors trying to come up to get Penix. So they figured if they drop down at all, if they drop down a little bit, even if they drop from 8 to 10, one of those teams can scoop in at 9 and take him. So I don't, if that's their guy, I can't knock it. The more interesting part of that is after Joe Douglas pivots and realizes that that's not going to happen, is that he starts working the phones with other teams that do want to come up and there were still teams that wanted to come up, but he wouldn't drop down too far. He didn't want to. Seattle had offered him something to come up. For who they were coming up to 10 after Penix, I'm not sure, but he didn't want to drop that far because he was afraid that, once they pivoted, they knew if it wasn't going to be Odunze, it was going to be Olu, and they figured one spot was good enough. That was it.
Yeah, and if you go back too far, you would have figured maybe Fuaga would have been the next guy on their board, and he went, not too far after us. Where did he go? Did he do
14
Saints?
Saints.
Yeah, I was going to say 14 to the Saints. So crazy stuff in the top part of the draft. I mean, when that name was called, $100 million contract for Kirk Cousins, and like the people in Atlanta got to be like, what just happened? The GM didn't, or the owner didn't feel like he knew what was going on at the time. Like it was a very like out of left field, even for like the team. And some of the comments that I've heard come out like of Atlanta, like since then about other draft picks, like, oh, we were really concerned with value at like other points in the draft. It's like, but you weren't concerned at number 8 with the value. And like, this guy's going to be, 27 years old by the time you're ready to like start him. What do you think about like the age thing when it comes to like quarterbacks sitting that long?
Well, listen, here's the thing is that quarterbacks can play a little bit longer. I mean, obviously we're getting ready to start a 41-year-old quarterback. I mean, granted, that's a little bit more of the anomaly than, not the norm. So 27 at quarterback age might be just like 23 or 24 at regular position age. Maybe not as much stress on the body, so on and so forth. So I don't see as a problem, but this window, like I said, he's already 24. Say it's 3 years before he turns a starter. He's 27. You really only got maybe 5 more years if you're lucky of high end production. He could play longer. I just don't think Penix is that talent. Penix isn't Tom Brady. Penix isn't Aaron Rodgers. Penix isn't Peyton Manning. Where he has a more likely shot than not to be successful into his late 30s. So I don't know, man. There's something going on. There's something brewing. And to me, I think you hit the nail on the head before, is that there seems to be some sort of disconnection or dissension amongst the ranks. I don't know if you saw the press conference where somebody asked him if they talked to Kirk Cousins before they made the pick. And like the coach and the GM that's kind of like smug and said no.
I mean, I guess you're the employee. You don't have to be told anything by the boss. That's a very like big power play for someone you just paid $100 million for. That if I'm Kirk Cousins, I'm steaming a little bit.
Correct. So yeah, like listen, there wasn't all that many crazy things that happened in the first round, to be honest with you. I mean, I thought that obviously was probably the biggest reach. I thought Jordan Morgan coming off the board when he did, I thought that was a little bit of a reach, not big, but a little bit. I just thought there was better players on the board there if they were really looking for that offensive, tackle or offensive lineman.
How about defense not coming off the board till 15?
Yeah, that was kind of crazy. And then some of the guys that came off the board maybe was a little like Chop Robinson to Miami. To me, I don't get it. I don't see the fit. I had a second round grade on him again, so maybe a little bit of a reach. I think that if that was the play, they could have played their cards better and maybe traded down a little bit or addressed another need and then tried to trade up to get Chop Robinson, because I think he would have lasted a little bit. I mean, who knows? You never know where that's going to happen. But, to pass on guys like Graham Barton, to pass on guys like, Jackson Powers Johnson, like major holes on your offensive line, to pass on guys like, the slot receivers that went. I think that could have been a position in need. Like
they did get Malachi Corley though. Or no, sorry, they did get Malik Washington. I'm mixing up my short Mighty Mike guys.
Yeah, they did get so that way. And listen, for as bad as I thought Miami's first 2 days were, I thought their day 3 was phenomenal. Mo Kamara, Malik Washington, amongst others. The running back, what's his face from Tennessee that they got in round, Jalen Wright. Jalen Wright was my 4th ranked running back. I mean, they had a great third day. So it was interesting, man. First round didn't go necessarily on exactly as planned, but it started chalky, it ended chalky, and just in the middle, I think there was a lot of names that we saw. There was no big reaches. I don't think. Maybe Pearsall was the biggest reach. And I don't even think. I mean, outside of Penix, I don't think it was that bad of a reach. I mean, maybe about a half a round too big. But if that was your guy, they weren't going to get him. So it's good stuff.
Zachary comes. He says, "What is Dom C gonna do on Mondays now?" Well, we're still gonna be doing our Monday show here. We're just going to be breaking down each of these prospects week over week over week. So next week, I think we just start with, obviously our first round pick, 𝐒 Fashanu, and we kind of work our way down for, week to week. And we'll obviously answer questions about different prospects and players and other Jet-related topics. It doesn't have to be just draft stuff.
Yep.
But really looking forward to getting into it. Truman comes in and says, really surprised we didn't get any more Notre Dame guys. Dom, any thoughts on Notre Dame guys you wanted?
Broke my heart. I was the biggest Cam Hart fan in the world. He was a top 25 player in my class. And oh God, when he lasted the 4th round, I said, please, I know we're taking a defensive back. Please let it be Cam Hart. So yeah, listen, they brought a bunch of them in. They talked to a bunch of them. Javonte Jean-Baptiste, who ended up getting drafted, the edge who ended up getting drafted by Washington late. He was brought in. I know they did work on the linebacker who went, probably a round or so early to Dallas. Yeah, Sam Hartman. I mean, I know they talked to Sam Hartman at Senior Bowl, but I'm pretty glad they didn't like him.
So real quick, I just want to get your thoughts on the JFM trade down, and then we'll hop into our analysis of each one of these draft picks. JFM gets traded day 3. A little bit of a surprise, 2026 6th round pick. What were your thoughts on that deal?
I didn't love it. I understand the financial end of it, but I didn't love it. Like I said, it's kind of counterintuitive. You kind of build into to make a push, in the next year or two, and you kind of deplete not only a big piece of the defense, in a production sense, but more so in a locker room sense. Like, he was a leader, you know what I mean? He brought true veteran grit. Now, not having him and Carl Lawson and obviously Bryce Huff in the room, you bring in Hassan Reddick, but there's a lot of mouths that got to be kind of replaced and fed. I think it bodes well, very, very well for Will McDonald, and I think we can expect to see a second year jump from him. And then you're going to have to mix and match some guys. Like, you better expect to see, you better hope to get to see what you expected from Javon Kinlaw, because he's going to be on the field a lot more. Maybe it means that rotation, that percentage, snap percentage is going to go up for some of our main guys, especially Will McDonald, especially Jermaine Johnson.
65% for Hassan Reddick, maybe?
Yeah. I guess it could be. That's the golden number, right? That goes from a second to a third. But then it's funny because you give up. Just say it's a second. You're replacing that second in essence with that trade you made with Detroit when you get in the third next year. You just you're kind of getting some extra value in that trade for what you're going to give up on Reddick.
Is the money you're gaining back from JFM worth losing a 2nd round pick over a 3rd round pick in your opinion?
Well, it is if you extend Hassan Reddick, right?
If I could extend Hassan Reddick and not play him 65% of the time and keep my 2nd. That's what I'm saying.
Listen, I think that I think if you're ended up giving your 2nd round pick, you're in good shape, right? That means we're probably in games and all that stuff. So I think that bodes well for the end, the end result of where we're standing. But I'm not necessarily concerned about the 2026 pick right now. Like I said, we got an extra 2025 3rd rounder to either use to improve the team this year or to, supplement that extra guy when we 2026. So it all works out.
So I want to get your obviously. Day 1, we wind up getting 𝐒 Fashanu. Brock Bowers still on the board. Top 3 wide receivers come off the board. I know I was heartbroken when 𝐂 came off. That was my guy. 𝐒 over Brock Bowers. Not upset with it at all. I think I feel a lot better with Olu saying, I'll play any position. And it, like the mentality that he has coming in versus what we just saw with Mekhi Becton. Oh, I'm a left tackle. I'm not going to play right tackle. Oh, swing tackle. No, it's not going to happen. Like, no. These guys are all team players. And starting with Olu Fashanu at number 11, like you slide back the one pick, you get a few extra assets that you wind up using to trade up and get, you know, our third round pick in Malachi Corley. What was your thoughts on the process to get to Olu Fashanu, and what did you think about passing over Brock Bowers?
I was fine passing over Brock Bowers. And that's not a knock or a dig at him as a player. He's a phenomenal player. For me, I just thought I think there's something to positional value. I think that you had to truly, and I was on board. I was a slow roll at it, but I eventually kind of moved on to the idea that maybe the weapon was going to be the best option.
Mm-hmm.
And hindsight being what it is, I'm almost glad it didn't work out that way, because when you look at the tackles that came off the board, like when we were picking in day 3, like the value of the tackles of those guys were I think Dominic Pooney went late in the 3rd round. He was probably the best one left. I think I like the value of like an Olu and a Malachi Corley more so than the value combined than the value of an 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐂 and a guy like Dominic Pooney, because those guys, those tackles, once you got out of that 1st round and in the 2nd round, I think and not even 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐂, probably in the mid-2nd round, they were all like, questions, you still had some development, no sure shots. I think you got 2 sure shots in what you have. In Olu, I think Olu's as solid as they come. I mean, it wasn't my favorite, he was my 3rd tackle, but my top 2 are off the board. Joe Walton, J.C. Latham went before Olu, so he was my best tackle on the board. I think Olu's, very good. I love the fact that, like you said, he's willing to do whatever you want, but in retrospect, in the long run, that you can just plop him in left tackle and not have to worry about anything for the next, so on years. It's just nice knowing that you have a piece there that, not only is going to help you this year, because he will, but you have a real solid core position of value locked up cheap for the next 5 years, while you have to pay JJ and Sauce and Garrett Wilson and all this stuff. So that's what I really like about the when it comes to the fiscal responsibility of making sure that we have a left tackle here. And then you bring in, you got a lot of the skill set in Malachi Corley that you would have expected with Brock Bowers. Like, Brock Bowers is, again, this is not a knock on him, and I'm not comparing Corley to him, but people who were all for Brock Bowers always, said, listen, perfect for Aaron Rodgers. He wants to get the ball out of his hands, put him in space, get the ball in his hands, let him do work. Well, that's exactly what they're going to do with Corley, right? And now you're going to have, adding Corley to the mix, you have guys that you can put the ball in their hands in space and let them do work in Breece Hall and Corley, right? You have your over the top threat in Mike Williams, as long as he's healthy, and you have you have Tyler Conklin splitting the seam, the seam in the middle of the field, and you have Garrett working everything else, at all 3 levels. You've really put touch points on every single part of the field here, and options for Aaron Rodgers. So I'm happy with I'm happy with Fashanu and Corley. Again, if I'm being honest, like at that time, I still might have leaned towards a more traditional wide receiver, but I've warmed up to the idea, and it makes a little bit more sense. The golden ticket is, the big pink elf in the room, if you will, is going to be how he's schemed open.
Sure. I also think Allen Lazard and how he factors into any part of the offense, in the sense of like not taking a traditional wide receiver, because you're already paying that guy. You're hoping maybe he has a little bit of a bounce back year, get the gadget guy that provides you something a little different. Blitzkrieg comes in and says, Tyreek Johnson, Leonard Taylor III, can either of them make up for some of what we lost in JFM? Any other undrafted free agents that have a shot? Hit those milk thumbs.
Milk thumbs.
Hit the milk thumbs. We got 264 people in here, only 64 likes. If you enjoy watching the Talkin' Jets draft stream with myself and Dom C, show a little love, hit that like button. Dom, what do you think about the undrafted free agents, and do you see any that, stand out to you more than others?
Well, Leonard Taylor was obviously the big name. And probably the one that was it's going to attract the most buzz. He was a 5-star athlete. Like he just never really put it together. They changed a bunch of defenses around, changed a bunch of coaches, changed a bunch of schemes at Miami, and they ended up going from 22 to 23. They kind of misused him. They played him inside as a one tech in an odd man front, and that just wasn't his forte. The year before, he led the nation with a pass rush win rate over 34% from the 3 tech or further outside. He played even some 5 tech and some edge and stuff like that. That's his skill set. He's probably a little too big right now at 305, 310 pounds. If you plan on using him as that combo, if you plan on trying him out at that combo, defensive tackle, defensive end, like JFM, he probably has to shed a little bit. Or you could just say, like, listen, we're going to play to his strengths. He's going to be our third string 3 tech and see if he can make the team. A lot of effort issues with him. I think that has a lot to do with, why he dropped. Like there was legitimately 1 out of every 4 plays where he just gave 0 effort, just like kind of stood there and whatever. So for him, it's not. I think he's got a natural given talent. He doesn't seem like he's motivated at times. And for what it's worth, I understand that he didn't didn't really interview very well. Like didn't come across like he really knew football. Like and maybe that Wonderlic stuff, if they still do that, still played in the part. Like a lot of people are doubting like his capacity to retain or learn, new situation, new offense, not just, hey, I'm the best athlete on the field, I'm just going to go get the ball.
Now we get into the second round. We're hoping the Jets are going to be trading up for a wide receiver. We get 1 pick into the 3rd round, so we don't have to worry about the 2nd round wide receiver curse. Trade up few picks, get Malachi Corley at 65. What were your thoughts about taking Corley there? I know you mentioned it briefly. You may have gone with a traditional wide receiver. We know Troy Franklin was there. A few other names that are blanking on me right now. Obviously, Rice fell like all the way out to the bottom of the middle of the 7th round, I think is what it was. What were your thoughts of the Malachi Corley pick and what led into it?
So I had 2 receivers on the board that I had rated higher than Malachi Corley, and that was Troy Franklin and that was Javon Baker. I could understand if I still don't know exactly why Franklin dropped into day 3. I'm not too sure about that. Other than maybe, people didn't like the fact that he's, 178 pounds and, kind of can be pushed around and so on and so forth. Javon Baker was the guy I was really targeting. I get why they went with Malachi Corley. Like and I think it shows with this draft class and with this free agency, Ryan, is that they're trying to change the attitude of the way they've played football the past couple of years. They want to get a little bit more nasty. They want to get a little bit more mean. They definitely want to get a little bit more physical. Malachi Corley hits those, he hits every one of those checkpoints. He's just really, really good with the ball in his hand, converted running back, does magic. They call him the Yak God. All that stuff is real. He tested out better athletically. And for me, like I said, the big thing was down in Mobile, how he handled himself on the line of scrimmage versus tough press man coverage. He was able to beat it. That was always the big question mark with him is what is he going to do? He's going to be forced to be a gadget guy because you're going to have to create his touches just like they did in college. But I don't think so. I don't know if he's as nuanced a route runner as, say Malachi or say Malik Washington or Roman Wilson for that matter. I think they are much more nuanced route runners. They create their own separation with their route running prowess. I think Malachi Corley is probably just a better athlete than most people that he's going to try to defend him. You can't match him up with a linebacker. You can't match him up with a linebacker. You probably can't match him up with many safeties. And I think he's going to be more physical if you try to put a normal slot corner on him. So I like that idea. And again, it kind of mirrors the idea of what they were doing with Brock Bowers. I think you got somebody a little bit more shiftier and a little bit more skilled with the ball in his hands than Brock Bowers.
Talk about personality traits. I really liked Olu saying he'd play any position. You get to Malachi Corley, we find out he turned down $350,000 to $400,000 to switch from Western Kentucky to one of the bigger schools in an NIL deal. He wanted to stay loyal to Western Kentucky because they were the one that stayed loyal to him. I absolutely love that. That is a core personality trait in my books. I'm loving the quality of player and the quality of the character of player that we're bringing in this year.
Absolutely, absolutely. I see somebody in the chat real quick saying that the Corley comp is like Randall Cobb in his prime. I think he's more than that. I actually think he's more Anquan Boldin. Like his game style reminds me of Anquan Boldin. Short, compact, physical, put the ball in his hands, run straight. He's going to do a lot. Not, probably still needs to develop, like I said, more nuance and a full route tree. He doesn't snap them off or break at the top of the stem very hard, but he's not a guy that's going to be asked to do that, at least this year, too much. I think you're just going to, you're going to kind of replicate a lot of the patterns that he was familiar with college. Hey, put him in the slot, let him run his little 1-yard hitch, let him run his quick little 3-yard digs, turn around, find a soft spot in the zone, get in the ball and let him do the magic, swing passes, screen passes, bubble screens, the whole nine.
If you guys want to check out some of our new merch over on talkinjets.com, Yak King shirt and hoodie, both on sale over there. Head over if you want to cop yourself one. Alan drops in. Alan, with a $10 super chat. What's good, dude? Thank you so much. He said, it really looks like we're going ground and pound, punishing the opposition and demoralizing them. Corley, Allen, Davis, and switching to a gap scheme running game seems like a great identity to me. Yeah, I mean, even with John Simpson and Morgan Moses, too, like those are two like ground and pound style offensive linemen. And then AVT coming back, I'm pretty sure Brees had like over a yard per carry more when AVT was on the field. So like we are very much looking to like smack people around this year, I think. Not to mention you have a 40-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles. It may not like hurt to have him, have the load kind of taken off of him a bit.
Yeah, and listen, the transition makes sense. Not only based on the personnel that you're bringing in or that you drafted, but just like you said, like there's not going to be too many heavy boxes as there were with Zach Wilson and Tim Boyle in the round. You're gonna have a lot. You're gonna face a lot more light boxes, and why not just shove it down their goddamn throats when you can? That's what I love about it, man.
Charles comes in and says, Dom C, Anquan Boldin was an amazing wide receiver during his day. In my opinion, he's a future Hall of Famer. I don't think Boldin gets in. Isn't he? He's definitely been out of the league over 5 years at this point.
I don't know if I got to be, full disclosure. I have no idea what his stats are, and I don't even know if he's eligible, if he's passed or whatnot. When I watch Corley with the ball in his hands, I think Anquan Boldin.
Boldin was one of my favorite wide receivers, like growing up, and just watching how he caught the ball and how he muscled his way through different catches, whether it's like contested catches or just like almost Quincy Enunwa like bullying over people. Like he was just a yoked kind of guy. So if we can get, Anquan Boldin out of Corley, that's a home run selection for us.
Quincy Enunwa is another good, example of that. Just that physical style of receiver. I think Corley will add a little bit more, juice and sizzle. He's got a little bit more agility than those guys, but like he seeks out contact, and he's gonna, he's gonna run some guys over. There's gonna be plenty of ESPN highlights with him running over a defensive back. I promise you that.
So we get into our fourth round. We wind up doing a whole bunch of trades. We trade down from 111. We trade down from like 126 or whatever the number was. And we wind up getting down to pick 134 after all these wheeling and dealings. And you wind up picking up a 2025 third round pick. I want to get your thoughts on how you felt about the trade downs before we get to the Braylon Allen pick. And like for me, I wanted to make the pick at 111. There was a lot of talent on the board at that point that I thought could have helped us. In particularly, TJ Tampa was someone that we saw get mocked end of the first round, middle of the second round, still sitting there at the beginning of the fourth. That to me screams, opportunity. You have at least the ability to protect yourself in the event DJ Reed leaves or MC2 leaves or Brandon Eccles leaves. All of them are on one-year contracts. So to trade down so much and pass on that many corners, I thought was a tactical miscalculation. What were your thoughts on the trade downs?
Well, I'll say this first off. When when you're talking about, you know the whole way, Ryan. I've been saying, and to you and to Green Bay and everyone, like, expect the corner and expect the corner to go early. It definitely makes sense. And like I said, I happen to like Cam Hart a lot in this draft cycle. I thought having two guys at 6'2", 6'3", on the outside playing the boundary that are both adept, press man coverage, but probably play better in off man. Like that, to me, the marriage was just there. For whatever reason, they didn't draft him, they didn't like him, or didn't go that way. That's fine. But during day 3, I was out and about, or during the 4th round, I was out and about. I was involved in my kids' baseball game, so on and so forth. So I didn't see any of the trade downs. I didn't see. I would have been probably losing my mind. But listen, I you know what? I'll say this: they, I don't know if they missed the boat. I just think that they kind of really focused. My guess is that after the Corley pick, they knew they wanted Jordan Travis. I think that they figured where they circled around where Jordan Travis probably was going to go, and they were comfortable kind of moving around, moving and shaking and seeing what happened. As the fan, sure, we want to stick and pick. I mean, we spent months and months looking over these guys and knowing who was going to be the best fit for the Jets, so on and so forth. But it's much to our dismay, the reality is that their boards often look a lot different than our boards. You know what I mean? I had that discussion with somebody on Twitter today.
It didn't look that much different this year. We got like 4 picks in a row of people that Jet fans were talking about constantly.
Yeah.
Jet Engine comes in. Says, Corley is a well-spoken monster if things work out with this O-line, Conklin, Ruckert, and the running backs, and MC. Jets O will be the league of ungentlemanly welfare. Yeah, look, the Jets have some mean bullies on this team right now, and I feel like we're going to punish other teams this year.
And as I said, I think it's I think I'm looking forward to that. Like the past couple of years, it feels like, just like they get slapped in the mouth, and it's almost like they turn the other cheek, like turn the better cheek. Like, how many times did you see Zach get knocked down and nobody stands up for him or pushes up? Like, you do that with John Simpson or Morgan Moses and see what happens. Like, throw the quarterback down a half second late and watch those guys get in your face. And now not only are they gonna get in your face, but guess what? We're gonna run it down your freaking throat the next play. Come right at you, so on and so forth. So I think the team needed an injection of
nasty,
just nasty, exactly. And that seems to me that there's a clear transition to a more power style running of football, and it's evident when you bring in guys like Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis, because that's exactly what they are. That's exactly who they are. Both big, powerful backs. That obviously have the frame to do it and aren't afraid to shy away from contact. I liked both backs. I know I'm very much in the minority, and I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that with like green glasses. Like, you can make a fair argument. Like, all right, well, double dipping at the running back position didn't make sense, but now you have 4 running backs on the field, 4 running backs in the room between Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, and Izzy Abanikanda. The oldest one is 23 years old, right? You have them for the next umpteen years. It's a room that now you're not paying a lot of money to, and that's full. You don't have to really worry about or think about or touch for the next two years if you don't want to. You know what I mean? It allows you to divert some of that money into other positions. Maybe spend a little bit more at cornerback, or spend a little bit more on the defensive line, and pay Hassan Reddick or so on and so forth like that. So I'm fine with that. And I'm going to, the hope fan in me, Ryan, is saying that the money that we're saving from not having to sign a veteran running back in May or June is going to be dumped into Justin Simmons.
That would be great. That's exactly what I'm hoping for.
That's what I'm banking on, man.
Charles comes in and says, Bolden had 1,000 receptions, 13,779 yards receiving, and 82 touchdowns. In my opinion, that deserves Hall of Fame. You have a point there, Charles. I'm looking at the Hall of Fame numbers right now. Obviously, Jerry Rice, nearly 23,000 receiving yards. But then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Bolden would be 10th on the all-time receiving list. behind Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, Isaac Bruce, Tim Brown, Marvin Harrison, Andre Johnson, James Lofton, Chris Carter, and then he would be in front of Andre Reed, Steve Largent, Art Monk, Charlie Joyner, Michael Irvin, Don Maynard, Calvin Johnson. I mean, obviously he's got like a significantly longer career. And then touchdown-wise with 82, I mean, he's basically I would say top 15. He's somewhere like in that ballpark. So maybe he does get in at some point. I didn't think he had enough of like wow seasons. I feel like he had the longevity. So maybe that's why I watered down some of his stats. That's probably not a great way to look at it, but interesting argument, Charles. Truman comes in. Truman drops a $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Says, talk about what Fashanu brings immediately to the New York Jets and what Естime brings to Denver. Can't wait to play the Broncos. I mean, with Fashanu, it gives you all the comfort of, you know, the backup offensive lineman that can step in at any point in time. And if he's true about like, I'm willing to play other positions, maybe he does start in front of a Morgan Moses or in front of a John Simpson or something along those lines. So not Green Bean, Tom C, can you speak to both Fashanu with the Jets, what's his immediate impact, and then Естime with the Broncos?
Yeah, so Fashanu's listen, I'll be on the record. I know that there was a lot of buzz. I think Aaron said something in his McAfee thing about maybe, hey, left guard, have some competition. I don't know if I'm starting Olof Fashanu left guard. Like, there's still some parts of his game which I think needs, just a little fine tuning, if you will. I trust him. I trust him. I trust his mechanics. I mean, he's as good of has as good mechanics in terms of his footwork and his hand placement and all that stuff in his pass protection. I think he gets to his sets fine, so on and so forth. I think he lacks a little bit power. I don't think that's evident in power in his upper half. I think he plays a little passive sometimes on that inside, which for a guard, is like the kiss of death. You give up that inside as a guard, it's kind of the kiss of death. So I think if I had to bet, I'd say I'd see him maybe at right tackle instead of Morgan Moses, more so than I would at left guard instead of John Simpson. Now, realistically, I don't think he'll start over either of those guys, but I think he's still going to see the field a lot. Obviously injuries happen, especially with these guys. We have, AVT, we have Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses coming off a pec, even though it doesn't seem like he's missed a game, even when he played with that torn pec, which is like really, really like, like big dick energy right there. Yeah. So, but he's going to see the field. Is he going to have as big of an impact this year as some other offensive linemen who are stepping into starting roles? No, obviously he's not stepping into a starting role. Do I think he has a chance to challenge and play? I absolutely do. Do I think that you've maybe hit a mark for a guy that you can call plug and play for the second half of the season or even next year on? Absolutely. The value of the position, the skill of the player kind of mesh for me. To me, that was like a no-brainer pick. Now, Audric Естime to Denver is interesting. Okay. I will say this. Running backs that run it in the 4.7s usually don't have very long running back careers. Now, Audric Естime, when you watch him, he plays a lot faster than he has that straight line speed. Why it's interesting to me, I mean, I think, like I said, I think he's a player. I think he's he showed off at Notre Dame. I think he's got a skill set that he can be on the field 3 downs, but the running back that they got there, Williams, is very redundant to that power profile that he has. Now, I believe that's his name, right? Williams. Why am I drawing a blank? The kid
Javonte?
From Javonte Williams. Yeah. He's got a lot more pass catching prowess than Естime was ever even attempted. So maybe they just wanted to, kind of double down on the, the power aspect of the game. Listen, Sean Payton's offense is it is built on a power run system. So now they have 2 guys in there that can get in there and get dirty. I don't know, I don't see him taking a lot of snaps from Javonte Williams, especially if he's healthy. So it'll be interesting. I would say that Естime has the same, amount of value this year, plays the same amount of has the same amount of value to Denver this year as Olu will have to the Jets. Now, granted, one's taken in the fourth, one's taken in the first, but the positional value moving forward is sky high towards Olu.
Truman drops in with another super chat. Thank you so much. Says, is Jordan Travis low-key the steal of the draft? Look, I think he's in a great position to be able to sit behind a quarterback that he's kind of similar to in Tyrod Taylor. Like, honestly, if I can get Tyrod Taylor out of Jordan Travis, like if you could tell me right now that Jordan Travis's career becomes Tyrod Taylor's, we have a backup quarterback for the foreseeable future at the very least, and, a bridge quarterback, at best case scenario. No, I shouldn't say best case scenario, but, if he winds up being Tyrod Taylor. And then he's sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, which obviously Tyrod Taylor never was able to do. So I feel like the learning curve could be so much better with that kind of quarterback room. Not to mention, I like the he's gone through adversity with the broken ankle or leg or whatever he wound up having. Yeah. And then you have Jermaine Johnson with the New York Jets. At least there's like some sort of like credibility that he comes into the locker room with. And I feel like the players are going to have that little bit of support that you'll see. And who knows, maybe you IR him and you save him a little bit. So I think it was a pretty good steal of the draft. Maybe. I don't know. What were your thoughts on the Jordan Travis pick?
When we took him, I was fine with it. All right. There was one other guy in that round, obviously, that I thought that I happen to like better than Jordan. There's a couple guys that I like better than Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis wasn't my favorite quarterback, wasn't my favorite prospect, wasn't my favorite film study. There's no denying the athleticism. There's no denying the moxie that he plays with. He's very, very talented. When you look at as a pure quarterback, I think his delivery is a little bit long and slow. I think his footwork and his mechanics are a little bit sloppy. And here's the thing. That stuff can get cleaned up. Do I have faith that our offensive staff and Todd Downey can get him cleaned up? Not really. So it's a good thing he doesn't have to start this year, right? Because he got that. But you're until this staff on the offensive side of the ball can show that they can develop some talent, up to the level that we do on the defensive side of the ball, I'm still going to question it. Now, that being said, Jordan Travis had a great year, probably arguably the best player in the ACC. And it was a huge jump from where it was, but there's still, like I said, a lot of it has to do with mechanics, but there's still fundamental things in quarterback play that I look at, and the stuff that's bad, I saw a lot in Jordan Travis' film. I'm just being honest. I'm not trying to kick the Jet fans, because I know everyone was all high on Jordan Travis, but he has inaccuracy issues. He improved them last year. They kind of geared the offense a little bit differently. He has inaccuracy issues. Now, when he misses guys, he doesn't just miss them. He misses them by like yards. You know what I mean? He had a tendency, which he cleaned up this year, being fair to the kid, of doing too much of that hero ball and forcing. So this year, even though his stats were phenomenal, they kind of actually put the reins on him a little bit and let him be a little bit more athlete. So he offers that skill set, that dual threat ability. Not to the Lamar Jackson level, but he can affect the game, with his feet. I just want to make sure that he can actually play quarterback at the next level, and to do so, you're gonna kind of have to reshape him from the ground up. So I thought my thing with Jordan Travis is I thought he's a great player, and he could develop and be a big time starter, and I could be completely wrong, guys. And I'd be absolutely fine with that. But I see him as his ceiling, exactly like you said, like Tyrod Taylor, a guy who might come in and have to start 6 games for you, but ultimately he's going to, be a really, really high-end backup.
Jake comes in and says, the running backs tell me Joe Douglas isn't worried about his job, and we're finally planning to play with a lead this year. Kind of wish we kept Huff to see what he would be like with his ears pinned back. Yeah, that was kind of the argument for Huff for me. It's like, you got such an elite edge rusher here that played well when we were not having a lead. Like, we did not take an offensive snap with the lead until week 4 or week 5 of the NFL season this past year. This year, like, as much as I wanted Huff here, we got Hassan Reddick, who's like what we hope Bryce Huff turned into. So I'm very much excited. And I agree. I feel like the Jets are going to try and rely on Aaron Rodgers' efficiency, his the lack of turnovers that he commits, and how strong our weapons are. Like Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, these guys are going to try and eat up as much clock as possible and just let our defense dominate games. Like Aaron Rodgers can be the ultimate game manager with the ability to play MVP caliber football as well. Dom, what were your thoughts on how the running backs are going to be deployed? Sort of like what does that mindset maybe tell you about the Jets this year?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that they're again, shift in focus, shift in mentality, shift in scheme is going to allow them to grind away and win those get leads. Aaron Rodgers can get a lead. Our defense can hold the lead, and then we're going to grind it. We're going to grind away. We're going to be those team. We have the on paper, we have the makeup to be that team that's going to, grind away 10, 12, 15 play drives that take up 7-8 minutes and just pound it down your throat. And when you load up and you make the box heavy, you got Aaron Rodgers who can just beat you on the outside, outside the hash where he likes to throw or get the ball out of his hands quick to one of these guys and make something happen. Breece Hall and Malachi Corley and Garrett Wilson, so on and so forth. I don't think Joe Douglas is worried about his job, and I don't think you can draft or go into free agency or draft worried about your job. I think you got to draft or go into free agency to draft and go into free agency. Like you got to make the team better. That's the best job security is to get dubs, right?
Now, Joe Douglas has put the players around this roster. I feel like it's like you could have a situation where they're like, all right, well, Joe Douglas got the ingredients. Chef Saleh, you got to assemble it and put some wins together on the field. Do you think there's more pressure on Coach Saleh now that we've seen what Joe Douglas has done?
I think there's some. Listen, if you're asking me whose seat is hotter, I'd probably say Saleh's seat is hotter. I could see a situation where Joe Douglas stays and Saleh doesn't. I mean, I could see that scenario that could happen. I could see a scenario where they're both showed they're given their walking papers. I don't see a situation where Saleh lasts and Joe Douglas doesn't. By choice at least gets fired. So yeah, Saleh's seat is hotter. I'll defend Saleh in the sense that I want there's a lot of room for improvement. I don't think he's been like hit homers out of the park like good at all times. He had his growing pains early on, and I'm talking about his on the field strategy, adjustments, and so on and so forth. Time management, all that stuff has gotten better. I'd love to see Saleh get an opportunity to play with the quarterback, and hopefully this is the year to do it, man. In
Kevin
that sense, he's gotten a raw deal.
Kevin comes in and says, Corley has more yards than Lazard last season. I would hope so. Lazard had 311 yards. So Corley, I'm hoping get us 500-600 yards. I feel pretty decent about that for year one from him. Jet Engine comes in and says,
Corley got 475 yards last year on screen passes alone.
Ooh. Jet Engine comes in with a 10 spot. Thank you so much. Says, no in between on 2 years. JT will be the most important pick the Jets have made in years. Or a footnote. Kid has talent, but faces an uphill battle. I'm in Florida and the kid is a gamer. Yeah. I mean, I love like the personality he's got. I love the upside that he had before his injury. And the Jets are going to be the beneficiaries of getting him many rounds later than I think he would have gone had he been healthy. Do you see that as well?
Yeah. So, no, you're absolutely right. Like, if he doesn't break that leg and he goes in and continues, you're probably talking about him in round 2. I'm assuming, some people round 2, round 3. I think the injury obviously played a big part in it. But I'm going to push back a little bit. Like, I don't think that this is the most important pick. This is a late fifth. This is a late 5th rounder. I think this is a best case scenario for Joe Douglas because if it works out, he's a genius, and if it doesn't, it's a late. He's a 24-year-old late 4th rounder. Late developer, late breakout.
I think Jet Engine saying like it could be the most important because he thinks it's gonna hit. Or it's going to be a footnote. I think that's kind of where he's going. Blitzcrew comes in and says, with Travis, we have 2 bites at the apple at developmental quarterback. If not more than a backup, can try again next year. with still a year to sit. So we could do that, especially if we don't like what we see in Travis from year one. But I think what's more likely is we continue to develop him after this year, because we have Tyrod under contract for 2 years, we have Aaron under contract for 2 years, and we have Tyrod under, I guess all of them for 2 years. I think what's more likely to happen is Tyrod is done at the end of 2 years. Aaron Rodgers winds up retiring. Jordan Travis now competes with maybe another veteran quarterback, and then they kind of see what happens there, see what happened at the end of the 2025 season. If you have a really high pick in the 2026 draft, then maybe you decide to bring in a rookie and have the veteran and Travis kind of slow roll that rookie in the 2026 year. So I think the Jets are going to have multiple cracks at this. And it's amazing after how the Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold stuff imploded to feel like we at least have something where we can begin to develop quarterbacks and maybe become that quarterback factory that Joe Douglas was talking about.
Yeah, I don't know about quarterback factory. Like, find me one.
Be optimistic.
Find me one, and I'll be happy.
That's fair. Mr. Downtown says, "Hi, Ryan and Dom. Are there any undrafted free agents that make the 53-man roster?" Dom was talking about our potential JFM replacement.
Well, you know what? But he's not the one that I think will make the roster. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that. I think he has a fair shot to make the roster. I do. There's a kid that they took out of Michigan, Braden McGregor, that they had some visits with. I know that they met with him virtually. They met with him a couple of times. I think his skill set and his size and whatnot, to me, smells like a like a defensive end in Robert Sala thing. Not the twitchiest. He's but he's got some of that fast twitch stuff. He's not like Bryce Huff. I think and I know that the Jets loved him. I know this 1,000% wholeheartedly. They would have drafted him, but I think they already came to a handshake agreement that he was going to sign with the Jets, which made them go a couple, a different other way. He probably has the best chance to come in and make the roster. Not only that, I think he's gotten more guarantees than your 5th, 6th, and 7th rounders. So, that alone probably gives him a better chance.
Citybert comes in here and says, "Convince me Corley is not Mims or Elijah Moore." Citybert, just go watch the tape. They play a lot different. I shouldn't say a lot different, but obviously Mims is not Corley. But I feel like Elijah Moore and Corley, maybe pigeonhole them with the size comparison, but the violence that Corley plays with is nothing like what we saw out of Elijah Moore. Any analysis on your end, Dom?
No, listen. I mean, it's apples and oranges. They're completely different players. Even Mims and Elijah Moore are different players in themselves. And Corley's a different player. And guess what? There's two end results here. He's either going to hit or he's not. You don't know. That's the same thing. Every draft pick, no matter if they're taking number 1 or number 256, has a 50-50 chance. They're either going to hit or they're not.
It's like the rain, right? Like the weather guy, he could either predict that it's going to rain or it's not going to rain. They might say 30% chance, they might say 70% chance. In the end, it's yes or no.
Yeah. But in that sense, listen, Mims had the height, weight, speed. Mims was the kind of wide receiver that you built in a lab, and he just could never put it together. Listen, never ran a full route tree. Probably not the sharpest tool in the shed, if I had to guess. Elijah Moore, I thought, was very talented. I thought Elijah Moore was very good. He just had an attitude problem. You're not going to get the attitude problem with Corley, I can assure you that. Everybody that talks about him or knows him or played with him said, the guy's all football all the time. And he's just more physical. Again, remember, guys, he's a running back. He's only been playing wide receiver 3 years. He's a running back. He wants to run people over. He wants to run right through your face mask and plant you on the ground.
Dom, do I have you for another 10 minutes? I have my call-in show that we're going to do after this, but I want to get through the rest of our draft class, and then we'll push everyone over that way. We don't have any 10 o'clock mock tonight, so I'll do the call-in show for as long as people want to call in. But I want to get your thoughts on...
Yeah. I have 5 more minutes because I got to run and pick up a kid, and we are doing a 10 o'clock mock.
Oh.
Okay. We're gonna do something interesting. Bean and I are gonna get together. 10 o'clock mock channel. Yes. So maybe get in there with it.
Gotcha. Braylon Allen, thoughts on that?
Yes. Physical. 245 pounds, physical. Lacks that third gear. I think he's a lot similar to Estimate. I think he plays a little faster than his numbers might show. Again, 20 years old, won't turn 21 until November. Not a lot of tread on the tires. Again, was a safety. Was recruited as a safety. Transferred over to play running back as a senior in high school because they had COVID and then the kid didn't play or so on and so forth. And
he finished his junior and senior year in 1 year. He's like, I want to go play football. Give me double the work. I'll get it done. Like, again, you're talking like 3 picks in a row of just straight up awesome personalities added to this team.
Yeah. Yeah. Super, super strong. Again, if you're looking at sheer numbers, his numbers took a dip last year, but I think that more so had to do with the shift of focus of the offense from a more power run scheme into an outside zone, which he just wasn't cut to his style of play. Big, powerful, like I said, to me, those guys, you look for a couple things. You look at their contact balance. You could be big and powerful and still fall at first contact, and he doesn't have that, especially for a guy who's a little bit of a taller back. He lowers his pad levels good. Knows how to take a hit, knows how to use leverage, so on and so forth. Strong as an ox. If it means anything, I know he was one of the top dogs on Bruce Feldman's freak list. Surprisingly soft hands for a big guy who wasn't asked to do a lot with his hands in college. But what he was asked to do, and again, this is this defensive player, that safety mentality. The guy yearns for contact. You watch him. Both of these guys, both of the running backs here, both Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis can come into the game right now, and you don't have to worry about any of the worries that we had with Isaiah Davis. You don't have to worry anything, or not Isaiah Davis, with 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐫 𝐂. They can come in and they can play on third down and they can pass protect if they need to. They will 𝐷𝐸𝐿 guys. They will take blitzing linebackers right off of their feet in one foul swoop. Again, both of them bigger backs, both of them more physical, more physical, grinded out power style football. I think both have good vision. They know how to run. They can hit the cutback lanes. They just both are, listen, they're not going to blow by anybody like 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐂. They're not going to see daylight and hit tons of home runs. They lack that second gear, which is fine. Because you have that in Breece Hall. You have that second gear in Breece Hall. You have that second gear in 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐂. To me, this is more, again, smash mouth. We got a lead. We're going to run it down your throat kind of guys. And we have guys that can come in, a 21-year-old and a 20-year-old and a 23-year-old that can come in now and see the field immediately because they can protect your most treasured asset in Aaron Rodgers.
176, 257. Quantez Stiggers, cornerback, took an interesting route to the NFL, and 𝐒𝐿 𝐂, safety. What are your thoughts on those 2 picks?
I'm going to say this. In full disclosure, I have not watched nothing but a couple highlights of Quantez Stiggers. What I will say is that the people that I'm kind of in the loop with from scout school and the people that are, do this for an actual living, those who saw him in the All-Star games in the postseason said, "Wow, this kid is good." I love his. I love his height. I love the fact that he's physical. Physical cornerbacks do it for me. I like a guy that's not afraid to get his nose in there and tackle.
Mhm.
Unlike Sauce at times, that he's got to change that. But I love that physical. I love the tenacity in him. I haven't really. I don't have any scouting on him done, so I'm not going to sit here and offer you. And kind of along the same thing with 𝐒𝐿 𝐂. I know 𝐒𝐿 𝐂 was a UAB transfer. I know that he's got probably his best case scenario is going to affect the team on special teams. There's a reason. Listen, he wasn't on most. He wasn't on most big boards. He wasn't on. One guy who I don't go. He's not like the Bible for me, but one guy I trust his analysis very well is our own Connor Rogers. And I know Connor Rogers didn't even have him in his top 400. So there's something that they see in 𝐒𝐿 𝐂 that they like, something that is a skill set that he has. And again, it could just be along the lines of Zach Kuntz, is that, hey, we're going to take the best athlete we can here. Because I think he had like an 8.89 RAS score. They're going to take the best athlete they can here and see, like throw some shit against the wall and see what sticks. And if you get a special teams guy out of him, so be it.
I love it. Boys and girls, if you just tuning in, make sure you hit that like button. We're heading over to the call-in show over on my channel. Cut
it off, Rye.
So I guess maybe I'm live still right now? I have no idea. My computer shut off. I'm by myself. What happened? I'm all alone. Sorry, guys. All right, we're heading over to my channel. Call-in show, baby. Let's do it.